GML115 Golden Mic Live. Today we are talking about something cool. Why you get paid. Do you know why you get paid? You don't get paid because of skills. You don't get paid because of this, job duties and all that. You get paid to be you, baby. You get paid to be you. And today's guest is going to talk all about that. But first, today's guest, do you know why I've done 115 episodes? No? No? Because you cannot cancel me, son. You can't cancel me. I run this show. I run this show. Do you understand me? Be live. Do you understand me? I don't know what just happened there. I just channeled Hulk Hogan there. But today's guest,
you're like a bottle of champagne, man. That's just the second the cork is in.
Dude, I think I just popped a vein, bro. Today's guest, transformative coach, helps entrepreneurs, business owners to get paid for who they truly are. We're talking about a person that facilitates quantum leaps in mindset, income, and impact. If you don't know what a quantum leap is, baby, it's not only that show on NBC in the 90s and 80s. It's about not just taking these slow paths to growth. It's these skips where suddenly you're here, and it's almost like you went through a portal and just changed overnight. Did I get that right?
I think so, and I know.
Yeah, right. I got that right.
Because we had a huge lightning and thunder strike as you said that. So the universe abides, man.
Yeah. So without further ado, my boy Tristan Gutner. Tristan, we just met like literally months ago, and I feel like you and I are like boys, man. Like,
and we've never even actually met. We've had like 3 conversations, but we go neck deep just within like 3 seconds.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good to have you on the show, Tristan. And I can't wait to talk about I can't wait to talk about getting paid to be you, because I think so many people, including myself, have had it ass backwards the whole time. Like that, yeah. I have to conform to some other prototype in order to get paid big time. And you're saying it sounds like it's already all up in here. But before we go there, for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Mark Cordone. I'm the founder of Make Money Coaching Program, as well as the Chief Disruptive Officer of the Joy Revolution. Yes, I get paid to be me. I get paid to be a Chief Disruptive Officer, baby. More importantly, I'm a positive psychology coach, which means this. Simplest job in the world. I ask everybody, including myself, 2 things on a regular basis. The first one, how happy are you? Seriously, how happy are you? In the truest of emotional states, how happy are you? The second question I ask is, how much are you living your life in full purpose and meaning? So Tristan Gutner, I'm going to ask you the question. How happy are you, and how much are you living in your full purpose today?
Today, I'm at about a 9.5 out of 10 on the happy scale. I'm just slightly underslept, so I think that's where that little oscillation is occurring. And as far as living my purpose, man, you know, I as much as I know how to, I have my foot on the gas pedal, and my experience is that our awareness of our purpose is always unfolding. So my desire always is to be at the cutting edge of living that. And the awareness is always growing. So there's always something else to go experience.
Awareness is always growing, brother. I'm already in love. Already in love with this conversation today. You're already busting me out of my pro wrestler character. I don't know if I'm going to hold it very long. But here's the dealio. Here's the dealio. For those of you watching, it's Thursday. If you're over here in beautiful LA, City of Champions, um, and you're enjoying the beautiful weather, the wonderful Thursday. You're happy. You're living life to its fullest. Gutner, give me a heart. I want you to hit that heart. Let us know. Declare it. Declare that you're flourishing. Nowadays, it's cool to live status quo and be okay and get by, right? Live above that status quo. Let us know that you're flourishing. Hit that heart. Hit that heart. Oh, we got some people hitting that heart, baby. I see you, Kim. I see you, Chris. Live that life, baby. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people think that positive psychology, and especially with this character that I am today, is all about 24/7 shits and giggles, Skittles raining from the sky. It's Taco Tuesday every day. People think that it's 24/7 happiness, and the thing is that if you're happy all the time, you're one of two things: you're a psychopath or you're dead, baby. Positive psychology is not about just happiness. It's about the ups, the downs, and the all arounds of life. It's about you being on that journey and then telling that story. So if you're watching right now and you're like, Cordone, Gutner, I was happy last week, and now all of a sudden, like, I don't know, I just ate some bad shellfish. I didn't get any sleep. I'm not feeling good today. That's cool. That's super cool. Do your thing, baby. Or if you're like,
no, can I jump in for a sec, Mark?
yeah,
It's like, not only is it just super cool, it's like that's the path forward. Like, we do have a choice how we feel, and shit just happens sometimes. It comes up, and I have a lot of people come to me and they're like, essentially just like, I wanna not have that happen. I'm like, great, good luck. That's not what I do. It's not what any human that I know is capable of doing. That stuff comes up to take us to the next place. So when it's there, just thank you. Awesome. I will love that too. Let's use that to catapult forward.
Dude, look at what you're doing. The golden Micatron 2000 lights up when people spit fire. So, like, yeah, I love it. The flip side of that is that you can be working for like 30 years in a job that you love, or even in a relationship that's a very loving relationship that brings you purpose. And you might be saying to yourself, what the hell's going on? I feel like I'm falling out of it. I feel like I'm outgrowing it. That's all right too. It's all right to live in that dissonance. Your heart beats just like everybody else, just like Tristan and mine. If you're in that stage right now, enjoy the show. Let it entertain you. Have some fun. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're still living your life. You're going to tell that story one day, baby. You might be on this show to tell that story. Exactly. Now, here's the last thing. Here's the last thing. Oh, my gosh, it is thundering. First thunder I've heard in L.A. I need to enjoy this. That is amazing. Yeah. So here's the last thing. If you are a 1 or a 10, you're up, down, you're all around, you don't know where you are in happiness or meaning right now, there's one thing that I've studied over the years that has shown success no matter what, wherever you are on that spectrum. And that's the idea that today is going to be even better than yesterday. It doesn't mean that it's going to be happier. It just means it's going to be even better than yesterday. That hope and that optimism is more powerful. And I'll show you the studies, baby. I actually do my homework. Is more powerful, or I would say as powerful as IQ, as EQ, and it's called hope. So for those of you who are hopeful, who are optimistic, and I know you are, Tristan, I want you to hit another button down there. It's called the wow face, and Tristan is going to show you with his face what the wow face looks like. Make that work.
If it doesn't look like that, it should.
I love it, brother. I'm going to hit the wow face. Chris is hitting the wow face. I love it. Dorothy, loving it. Growth occurs in the downs. Allow yourself to feel it. Love, sister. Love. Chris Cruz. Awareness. Let's get Chris Cruz up. Awareness of purpose always unfolding. He's digging it. He's dropping. He's picking up what you're dropping. I'm telling you, the golden Microtron 2000 doesn't lie. It only glows to the truth, baby. So with all that said, man, Tristan, thank you for entertaining everybody with that beginning.
My pleasure.
I just want to get into this before we go and start and to talk about getting paid for being you. What's your story, man?
My story, I'll be brief. I'm a talker, dude. So slow me down or stop me when you need to. I'll do my best to be brief. My story is I am here to help people. I've always known that from a very young age. The human dynamic is what I love. It's what I'm tuned into. It's my skill set, it's my passion, it's my gift. And it took me into my mid-30s to be willing to admit that, to start to trust myself enough to actually do that, to move all sorts of internal material that I was carrying around that was preventing me from being willing to step out and risk failure, risk looking foolish, et cetera, to really do what I'm here to do. So my life, my business, how I show up in the world has changed so much, even in the last 5 years, in the last 3 years. So long story very short, as you eloquently said at the beginning, man, I'm here to help people amplify, catapult, make quantum leaps internally and externally, often accompanied with a big leap in their finances, because as we're willing to actually express who we came here to be, who the universe designed us to be so they could express through us to serve life, as we're willing to do that more, all the blessings are natural. It's a natural byproduct of having the courage to actually show up and be who we are. So that's what I love doing. It's what I show up and wake up every day to do for myself and others.
So I gotta ask a couple questions about this, man. Like, you've already taken me off of I'm closing the questioning round already, bro. And the fact that like it's pouring here in LA, I love this. The raindrops on the sea. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. So the question that I have for you is that you talked about the massive growth it's almost a quantum leap that's happened in your business. Would you say that quantum leap that's happened in your business or to you?
First to me, then to my business. Every time in my business, I'm not saying there's not steady growth, there is, but it usually looks like this, and then like this, then like this. And it's always predicated on the quantum leap happening internally first.
Okay.
So I make the transformation internally, and then it is almost always immediately, usually within hours, often within minutes, reflected in my business. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. I really mean that. Like, I will see something in myself that I was unwilling to see before. So just willing to really bring the truth forward and take the blinders off and stop resisting. I'll have some big aha moment of how I have been creating the results I was experiencing. And just to look at it for the first time ever, and often within minutes, some huge expansion will happen in my business. I'll get a phone call, an email, something that just wasn't flowing immediately starts flowing, and it's tangible. Like, it happens in dollars. It's symbolized in actual exchange of currency. And I'm saying that just to say it's amazing when the transformation is emotional and energetic or mental. I'm not discounting that. It does something different, though, to the mind when you can see it crystallize externally in the form of money or relationship or opportunities showing up, if that makes sense.
That's absolutely amazing. And I do think that it makes sense. And then it also is counter to what most people think. They think you have to work, and it's nudge, 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 and it's forever a nudge. It's not there are never tipping points, you know.
Yeah.
It's all the external. It's all the external versus the internal. So I love that you bring that up. I want to go into quantum leaps in a little bit, but I also want to talk about. I am very curious about like young Gutner. But
Yeah,
see, I've done
what do you want to know?
I know what they called you. And by the way, love that Melanie is recognizing the golden Microtron 2000. It's amazing. It's a dream often. But you said that from a very young age, you kind of knew inside of you what you wanted to do, like, but you didn't really act on it until you were in your 30s, right? So like, what is that like to carry it around? Or were you like, nah? Like, were you like dismissing it? What were the actual thoughts or the feelings? What were the guttural senses that you were having?
Yeah, I'm gonna go right to the last part of that. It
Yeah.
was massively, massively uncomfortable, man. Here's what I mean by that. I didn't have the language for this when I was young, but I can reflect back and say it like this now.
Yeah.
I knew who I came here to be. I think we all do on some very deep intrinsic place. Like, I know who I'm designed to be, and I knew that at a very young age. Who I'm designed to be, though, is I'm not saying it runs counter to the way most people are, but this type of conversation that we're having, the type of work I do, the type of work you do, it's not the normal conversation out in society. It's not how most people externally are oriented. So this part of me, actually, it's always been the most near and dear. It's like who I really am. And I knew that at a young age, but I didn't understand how that interfaced or blended with the people around me, with the environments I was in, with peers, the teachers, my parents. And so it was actually a place that created a lot of turmoil for me, because I felt very like there's this way that I am, that I know it's who I'm here to be, but it doesn't seem like other people have space for that or understand it or recognize it. So I really hid this part of myself for a very long time. I think it would come out in different ways. It's not something I don't think anyone can really shut down. But it was very painful because I always sort of felt a step outside of every interaction. I used to describe it like when I'd be talking to someone like this or observing two people talking, we're talking and words are coming out of our mouth and sounds occurring through the body. But the conversation is actually like up here. It's like a meta conversation, energetically, mentally, emotionally. And I would be observing that and being like, this is fucked. Like they're saying this, but the truth that's actually being expressed through their body and emotionally and energetically is something very different. And so for me, it was real chaotic, especially as a kid. I just didn't know which way was up or down, and it didn't feel very safe because no one was like addressing this other thing. So it created a lot of pain and a lot of an experience of really being an outsider. And the healing for that for me has been to actually like reclaim the power of that and go, this is a gift and it's a service, and it doesn't have to be something that separates me. It can actually be something that brings me closer to people. And so my journey was to really start to transform the emotional material within myself that was telling a story that it meant I was outside or different or wrong somehow, and transform them to like, no, this is who you're here to be. There's no mistake. This doesn't have to be an isolating experience. So that, there's, in the realms I think we walk in, there's often phrases similar to like the purposes and the pain and things like that. And I really do experience that to be true just from my journey.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's resonating. I don't think that's resonating. I'm seeing people that it's resonating with, and it's resonating with myself as well. And I was just journaling on this yesterday. I thought for so long the feeling when I was a child of being different, and part of it was being the only Asian in my class.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, like, I'm so fucking different, man. Like, I hate this. Like, I see things different than other people, And then when, like, I became super Asian, like, I felt the same way. And I was like, oh, wait, maybe it's not that at all, And I remember as a child being like, okay, this is the way that I see the world structured, the way that I'm being told that it operates, the way that systems are in place. And I thought that my way was magical thinking. I thought that it was a way of being I wasn't being humble, And then as I started growing older, sort of the concept of self that I had was it was even more buried, and the only description could be like, it felt like when you pull on a rubber band, like I could feel tension, like and the more that I didn't do anything, the more I wanted to relieve that tension. Like it was tough. And then I read this quote by Abraham Maslow that said, "What one can be, one must be." And I was like, "That's what I feel. That's what I feel." And I don't know what it is, but that's what I must pursue. So I want to talk. I know this is your show, bro, but like you're lighting me up right now. You're getting
Go,
me
homie,
in
go.
the Golden Micatron 2000. It's going crazy. Chris Cruz has similar feelings as a child. Chris, it's good to see both of y'all again. Agree, it is a normal conversation, and it is refreshing that more of us are showing up and talking about it. Love it. Chris, both of you, come on the show. Absolutely, more our awakening period. I mean, would you agree with these statements?
Yeah, this has been in a way the biggest slap in the face to the bullshit stories I was telling myself. All three of those comments are true. And when I allowed myself to really drop into conversations with people, to let this part of myself out, really connect and go deep with people, it's actually rare if someone's willing to get vulnerable and really share that they're not experiencing something like this. Everyone's version is different. Everyone has this part of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like the part that makes me who I am and who you are, Mark, and who can relate to people in a deep way and are designed to do that. Everyone has that part, has that extraordinary vulnerability, has that what we can almost call extrasensory perception, where you feel things that aren't exactly being spoken, but they're palpable. Everyone has that. So that thing was very humbling to the stories I was using to hide behind and be wounded behind. Because when I actually drop in with people, almost everybody is on this tip, at least at some level, to the capacity they're willing to be in that moment.
You know what? And I agree with you. So many people are resonating with this right now. If you're watching live or on the replay, please let us know if this is resonating with you. But I also wanted to throw this out there. Like, this is more of an opinion from you, but like, is this like a game? Is this like a game for our souls to pick a meat suit and come in, and that's part of the game to figure this out? And they're having fun with that shit, or is there something societally set up that needs to be adjusted, because this is almost like our birthright.
Well, here's the thing, dude. For me, I mean, it's a pure opinion at this point. I don't know that society needs to be adjusted. I'm not saying it's not terribly out of whack and really inconsistent and serves some people, not others. I'm not saying anything different than that. But here's the thing. It's set up pretty damn well to trigger this kind of stuff internally. It's like, would there be a more perfect petri dish with all the humans experience? The difference being, we don't typically treat it like a game. Your question is very apt. It's very deep. We don't treat it like a game. We treat it so seriously, and it's so painful, and it's so hard. And I'm not denying that we have hard experiences. We certainly do. If we choose to look at it more like a game, like on some level, my higher nature chose to be here in this context. So I'm just going to actually play with what shows up in my life rather than fight it, resist it, be angry, be resentful, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes a very different experience, and it is a game. It's like we're so attached to our perspective, to being right, to holding on to these stories that have so much pain.
Yeah. I don't know, and you kind of taken me off this path. I will get us back on, I promise. But I have one more thing that is kind of it kind of lit me up when you were telling your story. Was there a particular moment where, or an incident that you can remember where you were like, okay, I'm actually going to live in truth now, or I'm going to pursue that? Was there a moment where it was like, boom, or has it been a slow, gradual thing?
Much like I was talking about before, for me, it's a lot of big leaps and then sort of integrating like this, and then big leaps,
Yeah.
One story that comes to mind is I was already pursuing this in a way, pursuing personal development, personal growth, spiritual growth, and supporting people on that. But I had sort of more recently actually really made that decision. But I really went through like a dark night of the soul for a number of months. And this is probably about 6 years ago or so. And my wife and I at the time, we weren't married yet, but we've been together for maybe 8 years or something. But we were separating, and we've since obviously got back together, got married, everything's amazing. But at the time we were separating, and it was really painful and really scary. And I was like, I think we lost Mark, but I'm gonna keep going. I was like crying myself to sleep. I mean, it was really just dark, really dark. And I would, I don't think I've ever cried so much in a condensed period of time ever in my whole life. And I just had this moment where the universe like came down and sort of like slapped me awake a little bit. And I just had this big aha where I was like, holy shit, this whole thing is based on one thing and one thing only. I had no idea how to love myself. None. I had such a low opinion of myself for my entire life up till that point. And all the stuff popping off, the relationship and all the things that were so painful to me, all they were doing, it was really like God or spirit of the universe, like tapping me on the shoulder and going, hey, bro, I know this, like the way you've been functioning has got you to this point, but it can't get you further. You have to address this in order to go, in order to grow, in order to thrive, in order to serve. And it really woke me the fuck up really quick. I'm not saying things weren't painful after that or anything like that, but it really slapped me out of that cycle of self-pity.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I see what my work is now. I have to reboot my entire capacity to love myself, my entire self-image, and everything that's happened in my life since then has been built upon that foundation that I'm still addressing, still working on. So that moment more than any other that I can address was the thing that like really got me on this path in a way that I don't feel like I even have a choice to do from.
Yeah, and Chris is talking about the act of crying. Crying is a physical form of the purge, essential and necessary to empty physical self towards the next awakening, you know? So
yeah, actually, can I address that for a sec, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be really brief, man. You're absolutely right, Chris. Here's the little nuance that I saw during that process. When I was just crying over and over and over until I had that aha moment, while I was emoting and purging and moving energy through my body, I was still telling myself the same story. I'm not enough. No one's ever going to love me. And I'd cry more. And then like, well, what happens if no one loves me? I'm going to be alone. It was just story after story. And it would just, even though I was emoting and expressing, there wasn't actually a release.
stand fast.
No, it wasn't.
The Be Live gods don't want the public to hear this story.
I was shouting from the rooftops. That circuitry, the old stories, even though I was crying and I thought I was purging, I wasn't really. I was telling myself the same bullshit over and over. And it was triggering an old emotional response, which kept the old belief system and thought pattern in place. So it wasn't until I had that aha and I just saw something very simple, which was just this. Now, if I need to purge, if I need to cry, yell, scream, move my body, punch something, I find the emotion in my body and I disconnect the story. There's no narrative. It's just energy that wants to move in a certain way. And I allow myself to cry without thinking about it. And the crying lasts, it's usually a lot shorter and it's actually a lot more purging. It's a lot more of a release. It's like when, you ever see an animal play dead? If you watch it like reanimate, it like does all this crazy shit with its body and it usually will sound or do something. And it's like, because it's not thinking the same way a human is, like, oh my God, what does this mean about me? Am I going to be okay? It's just like, I'm holding terror in my body, and that terror is antithetical to my survival. So I'm going to release it through my body, and then off to find some food or sleep or fornicate or poop or whatever.
That is true. Those fainting goats kind of come up and they're like, love it. Our boy Sean is also looking at that idea of crying too. It can be a purge, but oftentimes it's the ego having a pity party. It's the pity party. It's that cycle that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I think it can be either one. That's my experience.
Yeah, yeah.
The differentiating factor is what's going on up here while the experience is occurring.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Yep, the golden microtron likes what we're saying. So let's get to this. You get paid the most to be fucking you. Talk to me about that concept.
So my belief, my experience from my own life experience and from all the people I've ever worked with, all my clients, there's no mistake that we're here in these bodies at this time. I don't believe. If you look at nature, it's like everything has a function. It has a unique function. So I'm looking at my window, so I'm pointing over here, and there's all sorts of trees and plants. Those things all perform a very specific function. And when human beings don't come and fuck around with them, they will flourish at that function. Like everything is provided for, the ways and the means provided, they'll flourish, they'll do their thing, they'll fulfill the life cycle, and then the life cycle will draw and they'll decay, and in their decay, they add to more life. We're the same way. We think we're outside of that, the continuum of nature, but we're not. So we're the same way. So what I've experienced and just seen over and over and over again, whoever I am at the deepest level or the highest part of my nature, or you, Mark, or anybody else, we're here to perform a very unique function that nobody else can perform because there is no other Mark Cordone. There's no one who is you out there. So life doesn't, I haven't observed life yet to make mistakes or to create in a way that doesn't have very specific focused purpose. So the fact that you exist, the fact that I exist, by design means we're each here to fulfill a very unique function that nobody else can fulfill. So when I talk about you're paid to be you, the more we're willing to fulfill that function, the more we're willing to truly allow the universe or God or spirit or creative intelligence, whatever word works for anybody, doesn't matter to me, whatever, to the degree we're willing to allow that thing to express and serve through us and not junk up the arteries and the conduit with all our own limiting beliefs.
It's B Live. They're trying to stop us. They're saying stop it. He's telling too much truth.
I can't. It's who I'm here to be. The more we're willing to be that, the more we're willing to recognize or able to recognize that we're provided for. The ways and the means for us to thrive are here. So what I have experienced is the more I'm willing to be me, the more I'm willing to step out and be seen and be visible and help people, the opportunities to earn the money I want, to have the impact I want, to build relationships, friendships, and most importantly, a relationship with myself and the universe. The more those opportunities, it's not that they exist more, I'm just able to see them more.
So what about somebody who says, Tristan, I have the willingness to be me. I totally understand that I have a very unique, a unique role that only I can fulfill, but I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to do it. And, you know, maybe that might result in something like, that's why I can't move, because I don't know what it is. And when I know what it is, then I'll do it. I'm willing. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say a couple of things. If I were being very blunt with a person like that, I would say you're not willing.
Be blunt. Yeah. What would you say?
That person is not willing on some level. Now, I'm not saying that person, I mean, it's hard to talk theoretically here, but if a person said that, I'm not calling them inherently a liar, but I just think there's something that isn't in the light of their awareness yet. Because if we're really willing, who we are and what we're here to do is programmed into, it's in our cells, it's in our DNA, it's not withheld. So if that path isn't clear, most likely there's something that person hasn't yet been willing to see about themselves. So there's still something they're resisting in there. So what I would suggest is, like, you do know You just haven't allowed yourself to totally see that yet. And so start by just taking out a notebook and getting creative. Have tea, light candles, whatever it is that gets you in that flow, and start writing. Like, what do I love doing? What do I lose all sense of time if I'm doing? What would I be so genuinely thrilled to do every morning, to wake up and know that my day was filled with this? Because it's that thing, or it's connected to that thing, that is going to lead someone to the awareness of their purpose, if that makes sense. Like, our inherent in our purpose is joy. You know, there's a reason why you're having this conversation.
Right. Love it. Love it. So, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then the other piece is to be actually really committed to do the internal work, to actually get curious and investigate. Like, let me just assume that I do know what it is, but I'm not allowing myself to totally see what the path is. Let's just assume that. To then be willing to do the work with curiosity and openness and trust and faith, to just look and go, what might be blocking me from seeing that, from acting on it, from owning it, from stepping out into the world to really shine? Because I have found if I or anyone else that I'm working with is willing to get really curious and just go, I'm going to assume there's something here I'm not seeing. The universe is very forthcoming about offering us the awareness to move forward. It's not withholding stuff. It's like, it's only this that's withholding. So just to ask someone to really get curious and to look under the hood and go, I'm gonna look with more trust, curiosity, and openness than I've ever looked before. I'm just gonna see what emerges.
I love that. Now, I'm assuming that at some point you did this for yourself.
Continuously, homie, every day.
Yeah. So I'd love to know one of the things that you that you wrote down, because I know I did something similar, and it was coming out like jarbled, because I was like, this is nonsensical. Like, I want to be the Freddie Mercury and the Rock of happiness. And like, if you look what's happening now, like,
it's literally exactly what's happening.
It's happening, right? Well, what about for you? What are things that you've written down?
A couple of things. Two things come to mind, and they're from very different moments, but they are the two things that came to mind. So I'll just stress that and share it. Way back, like 15 or more years ago, I had this really cool opportunity to meet and engage with indigenous elders, largely from Central and South America. And they were like the wisdom keepers of people and tribes that have existed, maybe not totally untouched by Western culture, but largely untouched for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years. They have these very deep traditions in connection with the earth. And I remember thinking at that time, like, I want to somehow be engaged with not only preserving, but disseminating this sort of like what you might call ancient wisdom, these practices of being aligned with self and the earth and life in general. That's one thing. I had no idea what it looked like. I'm obviously not an indigenous elder at all. But there was something about that. And then I've always, from like one of the earliest memories I've had, my earliest ages, I've always wanted to be on stages. I've wanted to engage in conversations like this, but in front of people. I just knew there was like something. I'm a musician, and that was my livelihood for many years before I did this. I sort of thought it was that. And now when I look at my life, it is both those things. I'm not an indigenous elder, but I have the opportunity to share all these really what are ancient practices, a lot of which have just been lost, but put them in modern terms for people and get to be in front of people and really share and help transform people's lives. So that's what it was like for me.
That's awesome. And I know that there's a group watching right now, and like, y'all are super engaged. I'm loving it. Sean, Joseph, Chris, like all of y'all watching and on the replay. So what I'm going to ask you is, write in, what are some of the things, like, let's do that exercise right now. Like, what do you love doing? It seems like it's innocuous, but those simple exercises are the keys to unlocking certain things. By the way, Chris is recognized. You're definitely a shaman and a wisdom keeper from many lives. Chris is trying to get the ayahuasca from you. Don't beware of him. Joseph, I love making pea planes, baby.
What are pea planes? Like, I'm fascinated.
Did we get cut off? Am I still here?
We're here. You're here.
Oh no!
No, we're good, man. You're in.
Keep talking.
Joseph, I until Mark connects us, I can't ask you what a P-plane is. I can't receive your response, but I will in a sec. Here's something I wanted to say before you guys do this exercise. Me and Mark have a mutual mentor and teacher, David Nagel, and he asks a question very similar to this. And it is very easy for it to seem, as Mark said, innocuous, but it is so potent if you're really willing to be with it. One of the things he asks people all the time, and that he asked me, and I had a huge breakthrough with one time, is what do you really want? And the way he would often ask it is like, what are your desires that you would never admit to other people, maybe even to yourself? And when he asked me that question, I was on a mic in front of like 200 people in a room. When he asked me that question, I immediately was like, oh shit, okay. I want to be seen and I want to take up space. The reason that's significant for me is a lot of my own safety programming from when I was younger was to hide, to not be seen, and to constantly cede emotional and physical space to other people. I stayed safe by hiding, giving other people their needs and their space, and never really like planting my flag and going, here I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I need. Here's how I'm here to serve. So that awareness, it seems very simple potentially, but taking that forward, it's what's allowing me to be here. It's what's allowing me to go teach, to help other people and really step into my own gifts. So use that question as a prompt. What do you really want? Especially, what do you want that you've never admitted to others or maybe even yourself? And that will start to show you, it's like a breadcrumb trail back to your purpose. So as Mark was suggesting, you can do that now. I can't see your comments until Mark gets back in here. But do that now and do that for yourself and continue. And I have found that it's a very significant question to ask yourself many, many times over a period of time. Because there'll be certain times where maybe you're not quite ready to reveal that thing to yourself. And I made the mistake of asking myself that question a bunch and the answer wasn't forthcoming, so I stopped. So I'm suggesting ask it over and over. Ask it every day for the next month. Make it part of your morning practice or your evening practice. And see what the universe gives back to you. See what the deeper part of yourself gives back to you. So do that, acknowledge what it is, and then have the courage to act on it. That's where like the rubber really meets the road. This awareness, the awareness we're talking about of like who we're really here to be, what we really want, the reason that's kept in the dark a lot of the time is because once we acknowledge that thing, we're gonna move forward on it, which is amazing. And it sounds amazing and it is. However, there's a part of us that doesn't want to move forward because it doesn't know it's safe. You know, the subconscious is here to keep life right here. But life doesn't do that. Life either or it grows, either decays or grows. So when we track our desires and we follow them in our purpose, we're expanding like exponentially, and it just scares the shit out of the subconscious. It doesn't know how to keep us alive, doesn't know how to protect us. So that's why this type of awareness is often withheld or buried deep within us. It's a survival instinct. It's really an act of self-love. But at this point, as adults, it's very misguided. We don't need to protect ourselves in that particular way. Back to you, Maestro. You're muted, homie. I can't hear you. I'll keep going. Oh, the tech gods. Yeah, so you back? All right, you just tell me. Start talking when you are. So this process, it's one that you simultaneously, I think, need to be really patient with yourself about. But also you can demand rapid growth. You can demand quantum leaps. So the work really is to do the inner inquiry, the inner investigation, and go, okay, so I'm starting to see what it is I really want. I'm starting to see and admit to myself what would blow my mind, like light me up beyond no end to get to do every day with people, myself. Here's how I want to serve. Then to do the investigative journaling and reporting and inquiry internally. Why have I hidden that from myself? What's scary about that to me? What do I perceive the threat to be if I do that? And just starting to get real about what's scary internally. There you go, you're back in. And then starting to just unplug that circuitry, and you'll take new action, new courageous action, and it's going to mostly go great. And then it starts to create new circuits that you can plug in that no longer hide the truth to help you survive. They actually want to amplify truth. They want to amplify awareness because your subconscious is starting to see it's actually safe and it's okay to do that.
I apologize. I just had to. Oh, now it's.
Yeah, you're getting cosmic up in here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. It has a crazy reverb, but I can hear you. Look. I will. This is unbelievable. I absolutely love this. Yeah, so I can't stress enough how significant it is to do that investigative work internally. And here's what really moves the needle. I'm naturally inquisitive. I'm naturally looking at myself, as probably anybody on this webcast is. You wouldn't be here if you weren't designed like that and curious in that way. I bullshitted myself for a really long time though. Meaning, I would always say like, I don't need a mentor. I don't need a guide through this process. Like, I have friends, I got my wife, I know how to ask this stuff. But here's the thing, a blind spot's called a blind spot for a reason. It's an area that we don't yet have the capacity to see in ourselves. So for me, one of the things that massively moved the needle and really rapidly was admitting that I didn't know how to do it myself and being willing to take a risk to bring mentorship into my life. And it felt risky on a couple levels. It was risky financially, to invest in myself in that way. It went counter to almost every program I had. I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I could trust myself to do anything with the mentorship. But bringing that mentorship in for me was what really moved the needle, because I brought people into my life and it scared the shit out of me. But I brought people in my life who I knew were going to point out the places I couldn't see in myself. You back in, dude?
8 people just fired. 8 people just got fired.
Oh no!
You hear me better?
I don't know if better, but it's great.
Okay, then let's go this way. I actually am hearing myself feedback, so
we're not getting it on this end.
Okay, then I'll just go forward. Did you get to talk about your idea of wielding the truth scalpel?
I did. I didn't put it that way, but that's ultimately, guys, what I just said for the past 5 minutes. That's part of the process and the technique I use. One of the pieces is called the truth scalpel, wielding the truth scalpel. And it looks nothing more like this. There's a lot of ways to get in there, but surgically, it's like a scalpel makes a really clean cut if you allow it to. So using it to cut open the veneer of protection that we've created and just sort of like peer in and go, what's going on in there? I'm going to actually look without shame, without guilt, without self-judgment, because we use those things actually to protect ourselves so we don't look at the truth. So just the first step is always getting in there and just actually seeing what's going on. What's the real challenge here? And having the humility, the vulnerability, and the trust to really just look at that.
Love it. Now, we have already had questions. Sean Huber says, are people's egos conscious connected energetically, and or are their subconscious connected deeper?
I want to make sure I really understand that question, Sean. Let me just read it one more time. So just to be clear with the terms I'm using, I hope this answers your question, Sean, or at least clarifies it a little. Like, the conscious mind is the part that is evaluating the appearance of things and going, that seems true, that doesn't seem true, I like that, I'll accept that, don't really want that, I'll leave that here, I'm going to pursue that, not. The subconscious is the part that's almost just like a recording device. It's like an OS operating in the background all the time. And it's just observing everything all the time, recording it as data for later use. And then what we often call the ego, when it encounters a situation, it immediately goes into the files and it's like, oh shit, okay, What did we experience that was like this that I can draw from? Finds the file, pulls it up, uses it as a template, overlays it, and then we act from that. The challenge being, that's an experience of the past that actually has very little to do with what's going on. But the subconscious is using that to try to create some sense of safety and order and control. So the subconscious, I hope this answers your question, it's infinitely wise. It knows most things, if not everything. It's recording everything. It's consciously and constantly connected to source, creative intelligence, God, whatever we want to call it. And then the conscious mind is the evaluative tool we get to use. So I hope that's helpful or answers your question.
Right on. I also wanted to throw out there, like, those of you who are still watching, and there's more people watching due to this, whatever you just said, ask questions, because I'm playing catch up myself. So Tristan, I need you to do one more thing and I'll be fully caught up with you.
Okay. What do you need me to do?
Take us?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I don't even remember what we had sort of talked about that we might talk about.
Good.
Yeah. Here's something that I think is really cool, and I want to share. One of the aspects of the technique that I use to help people, I call reality bending, and I call it that for this reason. There's one reality, and we're just perceiving it differently in different moments based on whatever's going on in here. What I have found personally, what I found with all my clients, is when we're willing to wield that truth scalpel, when we're really willing to get in there and look at how we've been blocking ourselves and really take next level personal responsibility. I'm the cause. Everything in my life is in effect. Whatever's happening in here is projected out into there as far as results are concerned. So when we're really willing to own that and look at it and sort of get out of our way, so to speak, something incredible happens. That's what I call reality bending, which is we start to see the reality differently, literally. It's not that I do all this inner work and then opportunities are showing up. What we start to see is the opportunities have always been there. Every time, as we were talking about way earlier, every time I have a big quantum leap or an up level in my business, it's predicated on some shift internally where I have an aha moment. I go, holy shit, I had no idea I was holding myself back by this or that sort of limiting belief. What immediately happens is I'll like look around me and I'll just see an opportunity to quantum leap my business that already existed. It's not some new thing that showed up. It had been there all along. I just couldn't see it because of how I was protecting myself. And I think it's really powerful on a number of levels, but maybe most importantly, what it starts to indicate is we are infinitely supported by the universe, God, spirit, source, whatever word you like. The ways and the means to have what we want, financially, spiritually, emotionally, in relationships, they're already here. We just can't see them because of what's been going on in here. And when you make an internal shift and then you see your reality sort of respond, it does something massive insofar as letting go of any sort of victimhood we've been holding on to. Where like a story like, I can't have this because of this. The only reason we can't have something is because of whatever we're holding on to here. The second we release it, we see that the ways and the means to have the thing are already here. So I hope that made sense. A little long.
So I may have missed this. What are some ways that we can release it?
Release what's going on up between the two ears to start the reality bend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it's just bringing out that truth scalpel, you know, starting to look at a good, you know, again, this is what mentorship has done for me. So I can't stress that enough. Get someone into your life immediately who has a skill set to support you to do this. Because by definition, your subconscious is very skillfully withholding truth around this. But wield that truth scalpel. And one of the ways you can do it is just to start to go, what are some ways that I typically try to stay safe in my life? Do I keep people around me who want to stay at this level rather than really go deep? Do I create a consistent experience of chaos in my life, my relationship, my business, so I don't have the bandwidth to look deep? Do I keep my finances going like this because I then have an excuse to be worried, so I then don't have the bandwidth to do that? There's innumerable ways we try to keep ourselves safe, but they all look like distractions. They all look like things that require our attention. And then you can start to trace those back. Where did those patterns come from? And they always come from our parents or our primary caregivers.
Yeah, I love the metaphor that you're aware of Price Pritchard.
Yeah.
That Price Pritchard uses, that these behaviors are like we're flies trying to escape, and we just keep flying harder into the window, and we don't even realize that there's an open door right next to us.
Yeah.
And if we just flew through that, we'd be free.
Yeah. So here, I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because it helped me remember. I'll give everyone a really simple exercise. Do not be deluded by how simple this exercise sounds. It will open so many doors internally and externally. And I'm bringing it up because you're right, Mark. It's like we keep trying to do things the same way and hitting that screen or that window instead of just turning
do it
around.
harder and just die.
Yeah, and getting more and more exhausted until we don't have the life force and we literally die on that hill, proverbially. The way out, the open door, is this. This is one of the ways. I was given this by a coach of mine who I was probably given to her by someone else and someone else and someone else. I don't know its origination. Very simple, but it will help. You can do what's often called an inner child script. This changed my life so profoundly. And what you're doing is giving the 2 or 3 or 4-year-old inside of you who is still just desperately clinging to some sense of safety, you can give him or her an opportunity to be seen, to be heard, so they no longer have to protect you by shutting down your awareness. Excuse me, it's very simple. You get out like a pen and paper and actually write it like a script. So like me, ... Hey, little guy, what's going on? What are you afraid of? Him, ... Everything, let's say. Me, ... Oh, what do you think's going to happen? So you're having a dialogue, but you're writing it out like a script. The intention is to give this part of you that you've shoved away, but that's constantly pulling the strings behind the curtain. Give him or her a chance to just express. Like that part just needs to be loved and seen. That's all it needs.
And I love that. And for those of you who aren't even woo people, the science of it is called psychological distancing.
Yeah.
Being able to step aside and being able to look at a part of yourself can help heal that and facilitate some quick growth.
When the first time I did this, Mark, no lie, I doubled my income in 2 weeks, and I did nothing different other than this one exercise, because there was shit I was unwilling to look at in myself, and it was pulling me back. It was holding me right where I was emotionally and then financially. I did this exercise for 15 minutes. I saw a lot of stuff I was unwilling to see, and in 2 weeks, I doubled my income, just as a result of seeing something I wasn't willing to see. It really is that simple.
Inner child script, people.
Yeah.
Guess what? It is 8 past the hour. I want to go and look at what people are talking about here. Walter Aguilar, context is key to healing. Love the inner child work. Chris, love that. Our child self is our spirit self before programming beginning. It's limiting constraints. I hear myself talking. It's weird. So this is what I want to do. I want to bring you back. Tristan, I have in front of me, before the computer crashed, how to keep in touch with you. KristenGutner.com. What are we going to get when we go to your site?
You know, my site is about to be under construction.
Okay.
So the best thing you're going to get from my site, you can get on my mailing list. I do my very best to just offer super high value stuff in every email I send out. Tools like we're talking about, little hits in your inbox, just bring your awareness, because a quantum leap, the thing that will facilitate it is just greater self-awareness. I always say, like, self-awareness is always the next action step, and it will always show you what you need to do externally. So you can get on my mailing list to get some goodies. Also, you can connect with me there. If you have questions, if you want to know how to get from point A to point B and really start making quantum leaps, you can reach out to me through my site or just drop me an email. It's just my name, Tristan at tristangutner.com.
Tristan at tristangutner.com. Tristan, one day I'm going to meet you in person.
I know we live 5 minutes from each other now. High time.
We're going to have you back on this show. Before we stop the show, this is the reason why it's called the Golden Mic, because I'd like you, Tristan, to visualize a golden mic is coming down from your ceiling right now, and it's stopping right in front of you. Now, this golden mic has the potential. It doesn't have the potential. This golden mic projects out to every single person across the world. Everybody is listening to what you have to say, Tristan, when I flip the golden mic. So Tristan Gutner, your golden mic is live now.
So I'm gonna paraphrase or grossly misquote Neville Goddard, because I think it's one of the most profound things a human being has ever said. He said something to the effect of, man, or humans, but he said man, man's chief delusion is that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. What that means to me is that whatever is going on in my life and in your life, the only cause is what's going on between your two ears, the feelings that that's producing in your body, and then the actions that we take based on those two steps. So whatever it is that's going on that you want to transform, you have the capacity right now inside of yourself to do that. And all it requires is being willing to look at something you haven't been willing to look at before. That's it. The keys to the kingdom, you're already holding them. So it's just having the courage to put the key in the lock and turn it and open that door. And everything you want on the other side of that process.
Tristan Gutner, I want you to hold that golden mic in front of you. Now I want you to drop it like it's hot. Drop it, baby. Make that thing light up, baby. Tristan Gutner, you know how to keep in touch with them. This is the thing, y'all. It's the weekend coming up. We're turning off the golden mic to spend time with people that we love, people we care about, touch them, be around them, eat with them, break bread with them. We encourage you to do the same thing. This is my final question to everybody watching. If you're feeling good and you're living life to its fullest with your purpose, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? Tristan Gutner, Mark Cordone, sorry for the audio stuff. Not sorry. See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me, Mark.